My name is Cassandra Bright. It is September 6th. The time is, I'm not sure what time it is. 12, 1, 2 o'clock. Doesn't matter, I guess. We are looking at the the next Whole Earth catalog as an access to tools. And sometimes you have to go back before you can move forward. And the fact that most people don't know how to grow their own crops and grow their own food is a sign that when you're creating new items, you don't start from the beginning. You think you get to start from the end. And that's just not how it works, millennials. Now, some of you, it's the fact that you just don't have the common sense to get there because you're that smart. You're that smart that you think that you know everything. So you think starting from here with no review of here is going to get you and society to here. And the only thing you have in your mind is here. My goal in my life is to be a millionaire by the time that I am 25. With the current allotment of the ability to go viral on such a mass scale, with doing no comprehensive work, no hard labor, has brought us to the hierarchy of life to where we're bottom feeders. We are here to point it out, not to sell. And I want you to be aware that God and Steve Jobs is standing beside me, coaching me on what to say. And so are these folks. And honestly, I have no idea what this book is about. That's why we're here to point out, not to sell. It's how the messages are delivered. Coevolution. A regular periodical with Whole Earth catalog type information by the same people. Great! How often does Coevolution Quarterly come out? Oh, hee hee. Right, every 3 months. Quarterly is every 3 months. We do another 144-page issue devoid of ads, full of review, and whatever else we find remarkable. Is there a unifying theme? I guess that's the unifying theme. Over 1/3 of what you see in this whole Next Earth catalog first appeared in some form of coevolution. Circulation at present is about 50,000. If you want to make it 50,001, here's how. Contribute. Store. Additions. Additions with an ADD and additions with an EDI. The next Whole Earth catalog has no more financial relation with the household store than any other supplier. Through the bookstore, Charlie does keep us supplied with pastries from the Zen Center Bakery, and we will probably be sharing a mailing list. An order form and envelope insertion for the Whole Earth household store may be found in this catalog. No checks, Expect higher prices and expect prices to go up. Say what you want on the outside of the envelopes. Always be gentle. The last whole earth catalog, where we've come to as a society. Be patient. It takes at least a week or two for the goods to arrive. A month's wait is not normal. You shouldn't worry unless it's taken more than 2 months. Keep a record of the date of purchase and a Xerox or record of your checks. So that in your order, if your order is lost, you can inquire with polite and detailed specifics. Include your full address and your zip every time you write. Use order numbers when you've listed them. The government's printing office and the National Technical System Service, for example, they're essential. You probably note the price that's indicated. With each whole order, add $2 for shipping and the handling. The service here strictly is a convenience. You can always get them from the other suppliers with the household store that you group your orders. And you may as well get faster and better service. But we'll see. Almost certainly the household store will have books at your local bookstore. Never stocks. The next whole earth catalog has more financial relation with the household store than with any other supplier. Neither of us sells our lists. An order form and an envelope. Zigzag pattern. Do not rave about an item which is merely good or at the best a bad lot. Meaning you don't want to fluff the millennials' asses to get clout when they're misbehaving. Who's actually in charge? Also, don't waste time picking hits with the author unless the matter is something the reader has to know about. Write as you could in a letter to be specific. You respect and like. Be succinct. Succinct. Your function is to introduce an item to the reader and to each other to get out of your own way. Savvy readers will make most of their judgments on samples. Quotes, illustrations, select God ones. Bits you didn't know before, bits that contain the item's essence, bits that pass on a whole usable idea. Study some reviews and excerptions in the catalog. You've got to do better. Suppliers are invited to suggest samples, review, response, predictions. We accept no payment for a listing and offer none. We own accurate information in exchange to the supplier. Period. Expect the highest price. Be patient, always. Be gentle. Last whole earth catalog. Use numbers. List them. You'll see. Zen Center Bakery. Send payment. Luthor, as in Lex Luthor. Sun's energy. %. The inevitable. How much the last Whole Earth catalog is repeated in this next Whole Earth catalog. That surprised us. We'd expected there would be a 30% repetition. The other surprise was how much is reviewed for the first time in this next catalog. Not 10% as we had predicted, but 36%, about 975 brand new. Coevolution quarterly, we do not regard new as necessarily good, but it turned out to be better than we thought. What's different? I guess because 1,600,000 copies of the last Whole Earth sold, and Whole Earth became a generic name for a frame of mind and somewhat for a generation and a historical time. Historical time? Now the past. The hidden question is Whole Earth now a quaint anarchism? Anarchism? Is Whole Earth now a quaint anachronism? Or is it once again a detailed sign of the times? Reinventions of George Orwell's 1984. With the most ignorant generation in history and the most self-centered and money-focused on beauty. Trophy wives. Mark Zuckerberg shows Instagram. Leaving the interpretation to you, here are some things that are different. In 71, we listed 2 items on solar energy. Solar energy in the Farrington Daniels 64 classic direct use of the sun's energy. 1980, we're reviewing 63 solar items. Elon Musk. Green. Have you done any work? I expect that many reviewers of the next catalog will, as I probably would settle for reviewing this preface, making a few observations about the passing and coming of decades and letting it go at that. Blocked. And look up and subject area unknown to you and see whether we can get you interested in it. Done that. I probably shouldn't knock American writing practice too much because it's failing. Emrata's dialogue example. Consider the various experiences of 3 classics, Wolfgang Langewieschi's Introduction to Flying, Stick and Rudder. So graceful and imaginative and fundamental that it has needed no revision to remain the leading text in its field. because it's always robustly unreviewed. Unreviewed. People at large have no way of knowing that the wisdom of the book, like Zen and the art of archery, reaches far outside its specialty. For contrast, there's John Muir's How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive, an intelligent, entertaining, amateur and self-published work. It got the Whole Earth catalog treatment when it came out in 1969. As a result, the book in its 21st printing with sales of blah, 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 1.3 million. And it's inspired a whole literature by imaginative how-to books. Put another way, what's going on? I like this note. I got recently from our local Zen abbot, Richard Baker Rashi, Japan is a thought that provides for 100 million people. The Victorian age is a thought reflected and reinforced in the first abundance of industrial goods. What is the thought of our age? Could an unthinkable age be a virtue? Celebrating your birthdays for a year, every year. One thing that seems clear about our age is that the do-it-yourself approach is everything is still steadily increasing. However, stores and how-to book publishings are booming. In the view of that growing market, there are some disturbing dysfunctions in the supply side. Excellent carpentry and gardening tools exist, for example, but it is nearly impossible for the amateur to get them. The reason is this: there are so many sales steps between the manufacturer and the consumer that there is no feedback. Local keep the stock turning, hard win chains. Oh, you're doing such a great job. Fluff ass. No transformation. Same shit, different day. Preface. Punch in the face. Broken window. Hey, you want to have a beer? Punch in the face. Missed punch. Here comes a knife. Oh, slashed tree. Slash. Kick. And another punch. Put another way, what in this going on? I like this note I got recently from the local Zen abbot. Some of that spam is invisible even in conversation around the office. The next catalog project got going to a large degree because a journalist graduate art wanted to work with coevolution, and the only job I could think of was to compile a new catalog. One day earlier in the production, he approached the typer. As the typer gazed at him patiently, production editor observed dryly, "Art?" Another typical exchange. She also advocated painting designs on your face with your menstrual blood and dancing around on moonlight nights with your friends. Hi, Art. Art? I think I like it better on nights without a moon. The Whole Earth catalog, the last one, was aimed at one audience, the menstrual blood. Painters of the late 60s and early 70s, though a lot of other people tuned in. Herpes. It might be useful to three audiences: contemporaries who aged, positions of responsibility. One of us governs California, with most of our generation's premises surprisingly intact, and most of us still interested in acquiring skills. The new college-age population, with its unusual ability, and its apparent lack of confidence, entrepreneurship, its own road. The vast citizenry that has it with inflation, people who are rapidly finding that when you fix or build your house, you deal in inflated coin, your time, and you don't get taxed for your transactions. Meaning they are stealing from all of us. A promise from the Democratic Party. Stitches. What's going on? It's an idle sermon. Staff turnover is so rapid in the big publishing teams. Continuity doesn't even have a chance. In 77, we made an elaborate contract with publishers like Penguins and put out 2 books about it. 2 years later, they had so many new generations of old people that no one even knew who had a contract. When shown the thing, they had zero interest in honoring it, and none of them work. And I don't blame them. Apart from the decision level discontinuity, the relationships with the olds are terrible. Hence why Gary only hires millennials. The last catalog enjoyed uniformly favorable notices, but their frequent superficiality is worth a look. We were tutored as the voice of back to the land and linked commonly with Mother Earth. Back to basics certainly is a major point that we must make. But so is onward and upward cleavage. Let's move onward and upward cleavage. The facade of the business world, the face of the business world, the probable wounds of the business world. Anyway, enough. Cleavage. I probably shouldn't knock American reviewing practices too much because it's failing. So is our stock and trade. But does anyone else think it's odd that mail order supplies are most critiqued in print? The most contributed and critiqued? Todos? For contrast, there's John, How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive. But then there's a pattern language. It enjoys such a biblical status among architects and designers that they refer to it as its number 15. 15 means to encourage the formation of a boundary around the neighborhood. 160 means treat the edge of a building as a thing, a place, a zone, and the volume of it. Its books should be in the hands of every citizen, dweller, home builder, and office worker. A Course in Miracles. Its only book in the next catalog and has a whole page all to itself, but since hardly anyone else is reviewing it except for me reading cover to cover, the general public is best use. It scarcely exists. Reviewing it is not particularly an honored activity, but it truly has its rewards. The most conspicuous of which is the gratitude you encounter when someone is glad you alerted them to something so profound. And so something could make a difference in your life. Doug Room is one weed about the newspapers, and the Examiner, a great guitar player, told his origin story. He was reading the whole Earth catalog, the magazine, the craft generation, and it had a way of making everything seem so integral. a fear tactic, so they thought. Celestializing mundane jobs, cherry picking was karmic. Our description of a book on guitar making got him awards. After he returned to San Francisco, he started a business where he had over 1,000 instruments. You could buy some. Customary thoroughness. Everything came full circle. We had 2 reporters visited, and I watched with interest as how they received, as the Esquire, whom he liked a lot, always seemed to be asking each of us, what does it all mean? The Pacific Sun. I also had only one question, which she addressed in due course to each staff member. What are you doing right now? We felt that she got the better information. But that's our style. We're generalists, hopelessly in love with details. Fortunately for us, it's also national style. As America, as cherry pie, how to look it really well, where to find organically grown cherries, how to grow cherry trees, when to prune, where's my prune, who ate my prune, and pick. Is it karmic? Isn't it? Free schools are mostly gone, replaced by more interest in home teaching and by conversation generally. No longer do they have home teaching, nor do they have teaching at school either. Laundry service. China, which had a whole 8-page section in this whole Earth epilogue, is absent this time around, except as a goal for travel, discussions with our young China. We concluded that roles have revised since Z. Another cultural survey that wasn't updated was our epilogue 4-page Black Interests. For decades, the tireless leader of the nation in civil rights and arts, Black cultures, seems to be getting a deserved rest these days. 1971. Inconspicuous change. Since I'm the same editor as before, all that is clearly due to the skill of diligence as a people I'm privileged to work with. True. Another element I realized is that the sheer acclamation of experience, the last Whole Earth catalog summarized 3 years ago, the Whole Earth catalog was made in only 9 months, just like a baby. Some of that span is visible even in conversation around the office. The last Whole Earth was aimed at one audience, the menstrual blood painters. Blue dress shows. Trash bitch. Rising Sun neighborhood newsletter. You will note that the lower right-hand corner of every spread in its catalog, there is something consistently peculiar going on. It's gossip. The items you have been excerpted from 2 years prior, which are mustering towards the book. Most of the items are factual, really happened. Those in the whole latter part of the catalog took place during the very making of the catalog and the star backstage. All part of the ARC mission to make the processes transparent. The author is Cassandra Bright. We got her by mail order. She wore it from Ohio, sent some writing, said we'd be glad if we hired her, so we did. I was thinking the TV cameras and making us see only things kind of far away, and I was thinking that magazines are making us hear things only if they've been written down by someone we don't know, and I was thinking that the newspapers are making us value only people we haven't met. So I started thinking we should start writing, drawing, painting, singing, shouting that we notice about the neighborhood right here to each other every day, and maybe it will help us start to learn to treasure what we can also touch. Each time I visit the book, every new informative information comes along. Preface complete.